Hi, Stephen K Amos here, and welcome to another episode of Me, I Blame the Parents. Join me as I chat to one of my hand-picked comedy chums about their mums and dads, our folks born between 1928 and 1964, often referred to as the baby boomers and the silent generation. We all have one or two things to say about our parents. Did they forge us into the people we are today? Have they indelibly scarred us for life? Is it all their fault? My guest today is a comedian, columnist and broadcaster with an MBE to boot. I asked her how her parents encouraged her to study.
You know what it's like being the child of an immigrant. It's like a sort of academic hostage situation, isn't it?
And how her parents found themselves in the UK.
My dad did get 2 job offers. One was Liverpool and one was LA. And the Beatles came from Liverpool, so he's like, I'll go to Liverpool.
Please welcome Ayesha Hazarika. You were born in Scotland, right?
Born in Lanarkshire, yep, just outside Glasgow.
Were your parents boomers or were they the silent generation?
My dad's like late 70s. My mum's like in her mid 60s. So what does that make them?
Oh, well, I think you may have got one of each. You're one of the
There's a bit of an age gap there, slightly dodgy age gap. I'll have to have a Me Too moment with my dad, like have a bit of a chat with him, basically.
And in terms of your family setup, I mean, how many siblings do you have and where do you fall?
So I am the eldest and I have a younger brother. I have a wee brother who's 2 years younger than me, but he's a lot more mature than me. So people often think that he is like the older brother and he's done everything correctly. Like he became a doctor and he got married and he had children. So he's the golden boy.
Do you think when you look back when you were the eldest sibling, because I've got a very big fan myself, there's 7 of us. Look at me.
Wow.
I know, right? It was a nightmare, awful. I just want a bit of attention. That's probably why I do this job. Did you say he's the golden boy now? When you look back in your formative years, when you were the firstborn, obviously the little girl, maybe daddy's girl, was there anything there that you could have seen that your parents thought, oh my God, she's the one, all our hopes are on her?
So I think with my family, they were in a bit of a difficult position because they're Indian Muslim and they had come over to this country. And I think like many immigrants, they sort of had a sense of guilt about having left their sort of community behind. But at the same time, they were progressive and they wanted the best for me. I think they were often quite torn. So sometimes they were like, you've got to work really hard at school. And you know what it's like being the child of an immigrant. It's like a sort of academic hostage situation, isn't it? You're like kind of chained to a radiator with your school books. You must study. Whoosh. So I get really like, you've got to be as good as your brother. But then on the other hand, I think they really worried because I was a girl. And I think they still had that tension about, Muslim, Indian. Yes, I want you to do well, but not too well. You must do well, but ultimately you must get married to a nice doctor and have lots of children. Like that is your role in life. But I think they did see flashes of danger in me because I've always been like a monstrous show off. And so I think they were like, oh, hang on a minute. Something's up here.
I totally agree with that. I didn't appreciate that drumming in us how education was very important. And only as an adult, I began to realize that was actually because my parents arrived into a different land. They themselves were faced with so much hostility and negativity that their only way to try and save us from that was try and encourage us to get an education. My mum and dad used to always say, once you have that piece of paper in your hand, that degree, nobody can take it away. Even up until like 10, 15 years ago, my dad, if I'd go and visit him, he'd give me application jobs for the council. It's a job for life. I'm like, Dad, I'm doing quite well at the moment, if you don't mind.
That's so funny.
Isn't that weird?
But it's that thing, isn't it? Because you're so right. When we were growing up, I really railed against my parents. I was like, God, they're so fuddy-duddy. They're embarrassing. They're this, that, the next thing. When I look back now, it kind of breaks my heart to think about what they went through. And I think what they perhaps clumsily tried to impose on us was that quest for security, wasn't it? It was that
Absolutely.
Quest for security. That was such a primal desire for them. And as I get older, I feel it more acutely for them.
That is exactly what they were trying to do. Protect us. We weren't allowed to do anything. We weren't even allowed to have kids round to our house. Can you believe that?
I completely can. Mine were exactly the same, right? But my parents did this mad thing where they were so confused, lesson. They were trying their best. They tried to really integrate me, but they tried to make me really traditional as well. So my Saturday morning was fucked, if you don't mind me swearing. So on a Saturday morning, I would go and learn Quran and go to the Quran lessons. And then I would be driven to Scottish country dancing lessons because my parents really wanted me to assimilate and be like really, really Islamic and really Scottish at the same time. It's like so weird, like so deeply weird.
That is an image I'd love to see. My parents didn't allow us to do like school journeys or outings, even the Boy Scouts, something as simple as the Boy Scouts. Do you want to learn orienteering? Let me drive you to a forest and leave you there. You'll find your way home. Dad, that's not quite orienteering. Is that, do you want me to give you a compass? Dad, you haven't quite got this. Actually, can I ask you a question? Because a lot of my friends who are the same sort of experience, their parents taught them their native tongue, their language, from when they were small. But my parents didn't. Did yours?
I think my parents tried to, but it was incredibly unsuccessful. Me and my brother are many things, but linguists we are not. I mean, we can barely speak English and Scottish, you know what I mean? And they did try, and I think this was also partly like sending me off to Quran lessons to Mrs. Siddiqui's house. I was so naughty. She used to hit me with this ruler on my knuckles, and I was like naughty. So but I really regret that now. Again, I do wish I had learned. So my parents speak a very regional dialect called Assamese, which is the region is Assam. And I can understand it, but I'm not very good at speaking it. But when I last went to India, it did kind of come back to me. But what my parents used to do was, when they wanted to slag me and my brother off, they would speak in Assamese to each other. But we learnt what was going on, so we used to feel quite proud that we were kind of twigged when we were about to get a row or a big telling off. We knew it was coming.
Yeah, I hear you. I can understand my parents. My mum's half from Sierra Leone, half from Nigeria. My dad's very much Nigeria. Yoruba is a language, and they spoke it in the house constantly to each other, but never to any of us. But like yourself, we picked up on stuff, particularly the abuse. We picked up when they were being abused, and we kind of got the word. And you know what? There's nothing more disconcerting than repeating an abuse word in Yoruba to your parents and then them being furious. Where did you learn such a thing? You?
Exactly.
That's where it came from.
Actually, Kikota, my parents would be like, Kikota, which means, what is this? And I'd be like, well, you taught us this week. You. But then my parents were like, because my dad still had like quite a strong accent, and my mum's English was much more advanced because she got sent to school where they were really focused on speaking English. So so I used to get sent to elocution lessons.
Elocution lessons, how do you do? Wow, I'm just trying to picture that, elocution lessons in Scotland.
It was like, hello. You're right, hen.
What did your parents do in terms of work?
So obviously my dad's a doctor.
Obviously.
So my dad was a GP, and he first came over from Assam to Liverpool, of all places, the Wirral. He worked in a hospital there. He came over with his best friend, Aftab, from Assam. But what was really funny is that my dad did get two sort of job offers. One was Liverpool and one was LA. And obviously this is pre-Google times, and didn't really know much about Liverpool and LA other than LA was really hot and he was in India and that was really hot. Liverpool was a slightly nicer climate for him, and the Beatles came from Liverpool, so he's like, I'll go to Liverpool.
I can imagine now going, this is Liverpool. And I could have been in LA with a few palm trees. Wow. What's your earliest memory of a thing that maybe your parents did or said to you as a child?
So one thing that always sticks out about my dad, and again, at the time, I was so mortified and angry and furious with him because, of course, as a child of an immigrant, you're never allowed to have fun and just play. So my dad really worried about his spoken English and his written English. And I think he felt that had held him back. So he was completely determined that I was going to, particularly me, because I was a girl and I was the oldest, that I would be a good writer. So in the summer holidays, after we'd had breakfast and things, my dad would sit me down at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and a pencil, and he would just put some random object on the table, like this water bottle or I don't know, whatever. And I would have to write 100 words on it. At the time, I was like, why am I having to do this? This is child abuse. I need to call Esther Ranson. Like, who can I report him to? But actually, that is something I'm so grateful to him for doing, because I'm a columnist now and I quite often sit there going, shit, I need to write 100 words on something, think of something really random to write about. So that's a memory. It's a really clear memory I have of my dad.
Well, that's wonderful, because when I think back to my parents, because my dad used to always say to us that we are from royalty, our family's from good stock back home. And I'm like, but why are we suffering here then? So that's one thing I took away at primary school, telling all my mates I was a prince. And they're like, what? Isn't every African kid a prince? No, just our family are princes. What the hell are you talking about? Don't you understand? They didn't meet in this country, did they?
No, so they had an arranged marriage. So my dad, he came and trained to be a doctor in Liverpool, and then he went back to India and he had an arranged marriage to my mum.
Okay.
So, yeah, so my mum got married at the age of 19 to a man that she didn't know, and 40 years later still doesn't know, to be absolutely kind of honest. They've made... We Muslims don't get divorced. Life just does. It was like we don't ski and we don't get divorced. It's just like does two things we just don't do.
Well, I'm with you with this skiing thing. My community don't ski either. That's just triggered a memory in my mind, because my mum and dad...
How did they meet?
My mum comes from quite good stock. So her family... very good stock. So she lived on Lagos Island in a very, very affluent street, which was just coming out of British colonial rule. And her parents had money. Her dad was the principal of the university. And my dad was what you would call a skank. A youth on the street who saw my mum and my mum's sister and fancied both of them, and was but my dad was very handsome man, and also known as a smiler. He used his charm, and the rest, as they say, led to this. Yeah, not sure I'm happy about that. So in terms of your parents' arranged marriage, have their attitudes changed? How their expectations are for you to get married?
Yeah, I think they have changed. I mean, I think for a long time they were very traditional, because I think for people that leave their families behind and their culture behind, they sometimes want to almost preserve their sort of culture in aspic at the time at which they left. So sometimes expats, sort of people living away, are sort of a bit more socially conservative than even the people back at home sometimes. To be honest, I think it is a source of great sadness to my mum and dad that I haven't done a traditional thing where I didn't get married and didn't have children. I think they would have really liked that. But my dad is incredibly blunt. So at one point there was a very awkward conversation as we were making an omelette about whether I should freeze my eggs, that was a great conversation. And then there was another great conversation with my dad. I made a joke about having an arranged marriage, and he's like, "Look, you're too old. I mean, the dowry. I mean, we couldn't even, we don't have that much money, And I was just like, oh, fuck's sake, it was just a joke." And then there was a whole thing about people will think you're getting married for the second time, you're so old. My dad was like, nobody likes an old bride. It's like, what a shame. What happened to her? So I was like, okay, we get the message.
For many, many years, my parents used to come back and forth from Nigeria to London. I remember a few times arriving at their house in Nigeria, in Lagos, and there'd be a very attractive young lady in the corner who I'd think, is this a cousin that I don't know? And then my dad would be making these sort of weird facial gestures going, talk to her. I mean, not that we had a tradition of arranged marriages, but bloody hell, the pressure I felt. And it was so weird because growing up, we never talked about love. We didn't have that kind of relationship with my parents. In fact, we didn't even have the talk. Did you ever have that thing?
We still haven't had the talk. We ain't ever having the talk, Stephen. There's no talk. There's no chat going on.
This is how anal my dad was about these things. If we're watching TV as a family, literally, tales of the unexpected or whatever it was, if there was any hint of flesh, we'd all freeze because we were just waiting for a reaction.
I know totally what you mean. The worst show to ever watch was like Dallas or Dynasty with your parents. And you know how you could tell like a sexy scene was coming and be like saxophone music. And the camera would pan and you'd see some silky undergarment on the floor. And my dad would be going, where's the remote control? Where's the remote control? He'd all be like, panic stations. As you say, everybody frozen rigid with fear and awkwardness. And my dad like pressing the button to change the channel. And sometimes he'd just go, Ayesha Sharif is my brother. Get out, get out. Just like we'd have to cover our eyes and leave them.
I remember once, this might be before your time, before Hello magazine and TV stuff, there used to be a magazine called Tit Bits.
Oh, yes.
Remember that magazine? It was about gossip and all this stuff. I remember my mum used to send me to the shops every week to buy Tit Bits. And it got to the stage where the newsagent and I had this odd relationship where every time I'd come in, he'd go, oh, you've come to Tit Bits, haven't you? Bit of tit, bit of tit. I was like 9 years old. What on earth are you talking about? And I went home. I said, Mum, I bought bit of tit. She went, she hit the roof. And I was like, what have I said? Do you think your parents have mellowed with age?
I think they've really, really mellowed. And I think they've become so much more open-minded now. It's really funny now. My mum doesn't really mind that I'm not married because I've been on the Andrew Marr shows and she thinks Andrew Marr is like the best thing on the planet. So, and she's actually really proud of me now. But what I also notice as well, I think they've mellowed because a lot of their friends of their generation, people who came over from India at the same time, they've all mellowed collectively. I think as well when we were younger, there was that real fear of racism and prejudice and physical threat and just feeling that insecurity, that crippling, constant, relentless insecurity. I think they didn't want to talk about that to us either because why would you? You want to be the strong parents. You don't want to instill a sense of fear in your children. But now actually, I find that I can talk to them about all of this stuff. We actually have really interesting conversations. We actually get on much better now.
For many, many years, I couldn't have a conversation with my parents. I couldn't just discuss anything because they were stuck in a time where they had a re-romanticized view of colonial Nigeria. And we were only here for the time being, get an education and go back home. But we never went back home. And what you've ended up doing, you've raised whatever the current phrase is for black British kids. Is it BAME now? What are we saying? I don't know.
We don't say BAME anymore.
I know. We can't say that.
You get cancelled, Stephen. You've just been cancelled. I do think that for a lot of our generation, it was almost like there was so much pressure on them and there was a lot of confusion. There was no manual. They're the first people that come to this cold climate, bringing up kids in this completely weird way. Sort of, are they doing the right thing? They probably got these insecurities. One of the things they just never had time for or thought was important was just the luxury of talking and not exactly playtime, but, chatting with your kids. I think they felt it was not for them. My mum was just rushing around either cooking or doing housework the whole time. So the idea of my mum sitting down with like a cup of tea and just chatting to me, I mean, that was anathema to her. That would be an absolute waste of productivity time. Something needed to be hoovered or polished or a curry needed to be cooked or samosas needed to be deep fried. You know what I mean?
It's only as an adult you kind of appreciate what they went through.
Oh, totally. Like, I really do get quite emotional when I think about it. So when my dad first came to Liverpool, this really lovely nurse took him and his mate Aftab under her wing. She was called Audrey. And they were like completely flailing around in Liverpool, like not having a clue what was going on. And she invited them round for Sunday lunch. She almost became like a surrogate mum to them. She gave them their first pint of lager, their first Sunday roast. And I did a little documentary with her, and we went to visit her in her nursing home and got my dad to come and visit her, and they were telling us all these stories of when my dad first came. And some of the stories were really sweet, like my dad had this little mini and was like bombing around Liverpool. But other things, just hearing about the sort of racism he faced and things like that, it just really made me choke up, because we all find it hard to come to terms with racism, and we're born here. But you think about them, they were so young, and you just think about how horrible people must have been and how confusing it must have been, and they'd come all this way, and it just totally breaks my heart. Like, I feel really protective of them now.
Particularly when they thought they were invited here as well. Great Britain, we've invited all our Commonwealth subjects to come and help us rebuild the land. And they were like, oh my God, this is it? And my dad had one friend, a white gentleman called David. I remember his name, David Giffey. And we were made to call him Uncle, which really, really confused me. Because I was like, Dad, how is it? Shut up, he's your uncle. Okay. Thanks, Dad. Okay, we'll just listen to you. I remember my dad, one of the funny stories he told me is when he had a job interview. He was staying in a bedsit in South London when he first arrived. He had a job interview in Golders Green. And he asked the woman who ran the bedsit, how to get to Golders Green? And she said, you got to get the 31 bus. He got the 31 bus to Golders Green, had the interview, but had no idea how to get back because she didn't tell him you could get the same bus back. So he walked all the way from Golders Green.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Him.
I know. And you kind of think about those touching moments. And he was a young man then when he could do it.
Yeah, it is so moving, and God, like, I mean, they genuinely did all that stuff so you could be this superstar that you are, so I could have the career. It is incredibly humbling.
It totally is. Is there a specific incident from your childhood or teenage years that you remember so clearly about something your parents did, but they have a completely different interpretation of what happened?
So we have actually discussed this with my parents, certainly with my mum. I mean, at one point when my mum was quite upset that I obviously hadn't got married and I wasn't doing a sort of traditional kind of thing, she said to me, kind of, why are you the way you are? And I said something like, well, in a way, you created the person I am because you were so strict with me growing up and you instilled this insane work ethic in me. And she sort of didn't remember it and was like, were we that strict? And it was like, yes, you were. And it was this academic hostage situation. It's like being in the clink in your bedroom studying and you'd get allowed to come down for food. And it was interesting because my mum had a different recollection of it than I did. But I think I now really appreciate why she did that, particularly because my mum was a super clever woman and person. She got this arranged marriage when she was 19. I only found out recently that she actually wanted to go to university and she wanted to study Russian, and she could have probably done anything she wanted but became a mum and a wife and all that stuff. So I think I appreciate that more, but I think she also probably appreciates that it was quite tough for me at the same time. But of course, the irony now is that my brother does have children and my parents are the slackest. I mean, these grandchildren are so spoiled. They get away with absolute murder. I'm like, what is going on here? My mum's like, if she doesn't want to do her homework, don't force her. I'm like, what?
Honestly, my nephews and nieces, when they come round, if there's a big family do whatever, they can choose what they want to eat. And I'm like, it takes every ounce of strength in my body not to kind of go, they get a menu. We're not allowed a menu. Was there ever a time where either of your parents surprised you with an extreme show of generosity about something?
Yes, actually. A couple of years ago, I'd come home to Glasgow for Christmas and we were out doing some Christmas shopping. And there were these earrings that I spotted in the window of a shop. And I went in with my mum and dad and I was like looking at these earrings and they were quite expensive. I definitely couldn't afford them for myself. And then, my mum was like, oh, so expensive, ridiculous kind of thing. And then on Christmas Day, I got this little box and the earrings were in the box. I was like, that's so lovely. When I was young, they just get me just really shit presents that were like on sale at Costco or Macro. I remember getting a darts board. I was about 11 or something. Like, that is the kind of level of shite present I used to get.
I don't mean to laugh. That's gives an 11-year-old girl a dartboard. Happy birthday.
Here's what you could have won.
I remember at school, at secondary school, when Adidas was in, everyone had Adidas. And I remember going shopping with my mum. I said, Mum, I need to get some trainers. Everyone's wearing Adidas. I think my mum bought me a pair of trainers from the market called Babybas. They had 2 stripes. I'm like, Mum, no, I can't go to school with these on. And she's like, you want another stripe? Paint it on. What? So on the flip side of that, have they ever shocked you with an alarming display of ingratitude about something?
I think I bought my dad something that I thought was really nice, like a really nice tie or something. And he immediately said, is there a receipt for this? He didn't even look at it. He just went, gift receipt. And I was like, yeah, he's I was like, don't worry. It's John Lewis. You can take it back. It's fine. It's fine.
Your career has had you mixing in very, very high-profile circles, from being a political advisor at Number 10. I mean, when was it that they actually turned around and went, girl, you've done good?
So I think it was when I got my MBE. Although when I rang my mum, I was like, Mum, guess what? I've got an MBE. And the phone sort of went quiet and she went, only MBE? Just checking. Just Shashila's daughter, she got OBE. Just OBE, just better than MBE, but it's fine, it's fine. She's a doctor. I was like, okay. But it was such a lovely day out because it was just a real moment for them to think all the hard work has paid off. And we had the day in the palace. We went to Buckingham Palace. They came down. My mum looked lovely. She had a lovely sari on and everything like that. Went there. My mum and dad were like, so cold. Charles is so stingy not putting the heating on, kind of thing. But they loved it. For them, that was like a real moment. And then had this lovely party afterwards, and a colleague got his at the same time, so we had this joint party, and it was an amazing party, all these amazing people. Neil Kinnock made a speech about me. Do you know what? You know how I said I never got married? It was like my wedding day, and Neil Kinnock did the speech. So I think that was the moment where they were like, we're really proud of you. This has worked out okay. It's worked out okay.
When you look at your mum or your dad now, do you see a bit of you in either of them?
It's a really good question. I don't know, because I feel like our paths have been so different, and for them, family is really, really important, and having children were really important. But what I do see is, I think they're really brave. What made them as young people in a faraway country where they were doing really well, they were from good families, they were attractive people, they were having a good time. What made them think, actually, I'm going to quest for something different. I am going to make this huge, long, convoluted journey to this weird country and end up in Scotland, this weird place. So I think there's a lot of bravery. I wouldn't be as brave as to do that, for all my bravado about going on stage or going on TV. I don't think I'd be brave enough just to be like, right, I'm going to go and start over in a different country, because I'd be so frightened about everything. So I do sort of think maybe I see a similarity in that I definitely have a bit of courage in my life, and I think I've definitely got that from them. They have always pushed me to do more and to be better, and I think that is something that I've taken from them.
I think I might be turning into my dad, because I don't throw anything away.
Oh, totally.
But are you the same?
Yes, and I'm definitely morphing to my mum because I'm suddenly developing a passion for Tupperware. That is the other thing about immigrant mums, Tupperware. Obsessed with containers because no food is ever thrown away and everything is put into a small plastic container. But sometimes it's not just fancy Tupperware. It's like old Flora tubs from 1983.
When I went to my dad's house in Nigeria, this was last December, just before we weren't allowed to travel anywhere, I looked under the bed and there was a massive suitcase, old style, and it was talcum powder, scented talcum powder from Avon. Full. I mean, these things must be 45 years old. I'm like, what have you got this for? You know what Dad said? I might start a shop. And do what? Who's going to buy who's going to put 4-year-old scented talcum powder on their skin? What are you talking about? As your parents have got older, have their views in terms of politics and sexism and homophobia, have those views changed or have they remained relatively the same?
I don't think they're woke, right? That way, right? They haven't changed their pronouns. They're not at that stage. I did have this kind of moment with my mum where I was just trying to explain things to her and she was getting very, very confused and she was like, so a woman and a man can get married? I was like, yup. And a man can get married? And I'm like, yup. And a man can become a woman and get married? I'm like, yup. And you still can't find anyone to marry?
Oh my goodness. Oh, Mum, do you want your knife back? Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. That's what.
I know your dad was a doctor. What about technology?
Technology is horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. My dad, because he's kind of really old now, cannot work technology, but because he's Indian, he's got to have the best products. So it's a very, very bad combination. And he just has this giant iPhone, which he just shouts at, and the facial recognition, he thinks he's got to keep his face in the same pose. And he's like, should I trim the moustache to make the facial recognition work? But I'll tell you what they're obsessed with. The Indian family WhatsApp group. Oh my God, it's like a full-time job for them. They both sort of pretend to not know anything about technology. They are sending memes. My mum and dad will sit in separate rooms in their flat in Glasgow. They won't even speak to each other, but they'll just be posting kind of shit in the Indian family WhatsApp group. That's how they communicate with each other.
Does your parents have an aversion to medication, or was your dad, because he's a doctor, who's like, no, this is the right path?
It's a bit like, you know, when you're being the president of the United States, you're always the president of the United States. I think my dad felt the same way about having been a GP. So he thinks having been a GP gives him like an automatic right just to walk into any GP surgery, not queue, just go straight into the room. So he's quite big into medication, but he sort of wants to self-prescribe, which is a really bad idea at his age.
Is there a catchphrase that you recall your parents, mum or dad, as their go-to phrase in any particular situation?
I don't think they had a catchphrase as such, but it would more be just like, stop showing off now, or like, okay, you've said too much, or like, go up to your room, or Ayesha, stop talking, something along those lines.
Right, okay. Because my mum didn't have a catchphrase. She had the eyes. The eyes. The eyes told us as kids we said too much.
We did have this one thing where we had like very, very good friends, Uncle Aftab, who my dad came over from India with, and his wife, our Auntie Rumi, was not a brilliant cook. And we'd go and we'd be force-fed all this quite terrible food, and we would always start laughing. And my mum, you said about the eyes, my mum would just look at us and be like, just wait till you get home. Just wait till you get home. And one time we got into such trouble because we behaved really badly and we got such shouting at. When we got home, my mum made us ring this poor lady, Auntie Rumi, and apologise about how bad her cooking was. But the worst thing was she thought it was really good. Like, she didn't even know that her cooking was really bad. So we're on the phone going, hi, Auntie Rumi, just want to say I'm really sorry about how bad your cooking is. And I didn't understand.
But you know what? You got to love them. Ayesha, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and keep flying, my girl. Keep flying. Amazing.
Oh, thank you, Stephen. It's been such a joy. I've laughed so much. Thank you for having me.
So that was Ayesha Hazarika, who told us that you can have elocution lessons in Scotland, that it's probably best not to laugh at your auntie's cooking, and if you buy your father a Christmas present, hold on to the receipt. Just a little delving into what makes some parents tick, and we've got to know them a little bit better. So, that's old, folks. You've been listening to Me, I Blame the Parents, starring me, Stephen K Amos, with special guest Ayesha Hazarika, produced by Hugh Sington